Sairam everyone, welcome back to our new session of political science. We will be continuing with our lesson Constitutional Design. Before we start with our lesson, let's have a quick recap of what we have learned in the last class. We studied about the South African Constitution. Under that topic, we studied about the blacks and the whites. Both the groups, they wanted to safeguard their interest, and both the parties agreed to compromise. The white agreed to the principles of majority rule, and the blacks, they agreed majority rule but not absolute. The South African agreed on some basic rules. Constitution is nothing but a written set of rules. Constitution, that is, it determines relation among the people of the country. It also determines a relationship between the people and the government. We also studied what the Constitution can do, right? Under that topic, we saw it generates, that is, Constitution generates degree of trust and coordination that is necessary for diverse groups to live. It specifies how the government will be constituted, who will have powers to take which division. It also lays down limits on the power of the government and tells us the rights of the citizens. Constitution expresses the aspiration of the people about creating a good society. So we studied all this point in the last class. So now let's begin with the new topic today. Children, in the last class we saw the difficulties that people of South Africa faced while framing this constitution, right? Now we will talk about our country, Indian Constitution. Okay, in the topic making of Indian Constitution. Okay, now we will learn how Indian Constitution was framed. Here is the map of India. We all know that. And in the next slide, here it is, Constitution of India. So let's move further. Okay. Here, we all know South Africa faced problems. There were a lot of difficulties. But even India's constitution, when India's constitution was drawn, okay, it was drawn under many difficult circumstances. It was totally different from that of South Africa. It was not easy, okay, making a constitution for huge country, India. It was difficult. I'll tell you the reason. Difficulties. Okay, three main difficulties I'll discuss with you right now. See, first thing is, I said it was not easy to frame constitution of this huge country, India. Yeah, right? Because first thing is, with the diverse population. Indian population, which was diverse. That means what? In India, we have people following different religion. Okay, they're also divided into castes and subcastes, speaking different languages, yeah, following different customs, tradition, festival. So this is called diverse population. So one of the problem was there. Okay, also the status of the people. Now what is the status? During the king's rule, this people of India, see, this was before the British. Okay, there were many kingdoms in India, and that time the status of the people was subject, right? And now this status of people of India was to be changed, or you can say transferred to citizen in independent India under the democratic government. Now no more they are going to be called as subject. They will be denoted as citizens. Okay. Now I wanted to show the map of the country. Here you can see the diversity is shown here. People following different languages, religion. Can you see on your monitor? From the dressing, we can easily make out this people, they belong to the time of kings. Yeah, see the next slide also. Yes, that is, what was the status of this people during the king's rule? Their status was subject. Now this subject will be transformed to citizen. That was after the independence of India, right? So now let's move further and see other difficulties faced. Now children, we all know about partition of India and Pakistan. Yes or no? India was born through this partition. This partition of India and Pakistan was on the basis of a religion, Hindu and Muslim. It was a traumatic experience, very shocking, upsetting experience for the people of India and for the people of Pakistan. During this partition, many people lost their lives. It is said that at least 10 lakh people were killed on both the borders, Pakistan border and also in India, because of this violence of partition. Violence related to partition. Many of them, they lost their lives. Here are some pictures during the time of partition of India and Pakistan. Few people coming to India and few population going to Pakistan. Yes, look at this. And many of them, they lost their life. I did mention you this during the partition of India and Pakistan. Let's move on to our next topic. There were many princely states in our country, right? Another problem was related to this princely states. Now the Britishers had left to the rulers of this princely state to decide whether they wanted to merge with India or to merge with Pakistan or remain independent. The princely state, the ruler of this princely state had to decide. It was a difficult and uncertain task. Can you see here? There were many kingdoms in India. Okay, as I told you, it was a difficult and uncertain task to merge this princely states. Okay, now today our country is secure. But when the constitution was being written, the future of our country did not look secured. The people who were making the constitution, they had anxieties. They were worried, concerned about the present and also about the future of the country. Now we will talk about the Part 2 Constitution. Yes, Part 2 Constitution. As we saw, there were many difficulties framing this constitution. These three major we studied right now. Constitution for our country. But there was one big advantage for the makers. And that advantage was that the makers did not have to create a consensus about what a democratic India should look like. Consensus, nothing, just a agreement, general agreement, oneness. Okay, this consensus had already evolved during the freedom struggle. Our national movement was not just a movement, okay, not just a movement of struggle for freedom against this foreign rule, yeah, right, but it was a struggle to rejuvenate, to reunite our country and also to transform our society and politics. This, there were many different opinions about the paths India should take after independence. Many leaders had different opinions. Okay, this, even today we can see these differences. Am I right? No? Yet some people, you can say some basic ideas had been accepted by almost everyone. Now, here you can see he is Motilal Nehru. He was a lawyer. Okay, he was an advocate. Now, Motilal Nehru and 8 other leaders, they drafted a constitution for India. That was in the year 1928. Right? Also, in 1931, okay, the Indian National Congress at the Karachi session dwelt on how the India's constitution should be. See, one constitution was framed in 1928 by Motilal Nehru and also one in Karachi. But both these drafts included, there were many similarities in both these drafts. Okay, both drafts included, first is universal adult franchise, next is right to freedom and equality. Okay, and the next one is right to protecting the rights of minority. Now, in the Constitution of Independent India, both these drafts had similar ideas, thoughts in all these 3 points. Much before the Constituent Assembly met, some basic rules were accepted by all the leaders. Okay. The familiarity with political institutions, that of colonial rule, it helped us to develop the institutional design. Okay, during the British rules, voting rights were not given to all. Voting rights were given only to few people. This tells us that British had introduced very weak legislature, right? No? When the elections were held, that was in the year 1937. These elections were held to provincial legislature and ministers all over India. These elections were held under the British rule. This were not fully democratic. Okay, but the experience gained by the Indians, okay, we Indians, in working of legislature institution proved to be very useful. It helped in setting up our own institutions and working in them. The Indian Constitution also adopted many institutional details and procedures from colonial laws. Like, for example, the Government of India Act of 1935. Okay, they adopted some part from this act also, the Colonial Act. Lots of thinking for years and deliberation, discussion, consideration on Constitution helped to frame our Constitution. Our leaders gained confidence. Many of our leaders were also inspired by the ideas of, say, French Revolution, by practice of parliamentary democracy in Britain, also the Bill of Rights in the US. Indians were also inspired by the socialist revolution that took place in Russia. In fact, children, Russian Revolution helped in shaping a system based on social and economic equality. They were all inspired. Okay, we were inspired, but never imitated what others had done. At each step, they were questioning whether this thing suited the country, people of our country. Children, we will stop here. We will continue with the lesson in the next session, next class. Until then, take care. Thank you.